Okay, so we're now on the last lesson of this unit, where we're again finding surface area and volume for the pyramids, cones, and spheres. And so quick reminder from what I showed you last class is when we get to these shapes, when we unfold them, this is what they look like. Cone, cylinder, and so what we're finding is we're trying to find, hey, what's the area of these if we unfolded them? And you can always try to find those and add them all together, or you can use the formulas we're going to go over today. So first let's look at some of our formulas. So prisms was what we did last time, and so this uses the same. We have P stands for perimeter, base stands for base, and then we have a new L, so that L is lateral height. And so the lateral height is just simply this height here. So because it's not a straight up and down height like we saw before, it's the slanted height from the edge to the tip and at a right angle with the edge. So that's the lateral height. Okay, so to make this simple, we're going to go ahead and write out our formulas. So for any pyramid, which means it's coming up to a point here, the formula is simply 1/2 of the perimeter times that lateral height. And we can see why, because if you look at every single side here, each side is a triangle. It doesn't matter what shape the base is. Your sides of the pyramids are always triangles, and that's why we just have to do 1/2 times the base and the height of the triangle. And then we add just one base, because there's only one base here. So again, it does not matter what shape that base is, the formula is the same. And volume of all of them is, again, that area of the base times the height. This time we're times 1/3, because when all those sides collapse in as triangles to the center, it's 1/3 of what the entire shape would be if it was just a prism. So volume just equals 1/3 of the area of the base times the height. And height means the straight up and down height. So we're going to be doing volume on the next page because these figures did not give us the straight up and down height. So for this first shape, I looked down at the bottom, I traced out, it's a triangle. So this is a triangular prism. And so I have to identify, this is an equilateral triangle, or at least I know all three of these sides are 4. So my perimeter, so the perimeter of that base is just 4 plus 4 plus 4, which equals 12. Okay. Now the area of the base I need is 4. It's a triangle, so area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And so I have to say, okay, where do I have that right angle, which is right here, with that dotted line of the height, which is 3.5. So it's just 1/2 times 4 times 3.5, which equals 7. Okay. And then my lateral height I already found right here is 2.3. So now I just plug it in to find surface area. So 1/2 of the perimeter, which is 12, times my lateral height, which is 2.3, plus the area of the base, which is 7. And that gives me 20.8 meters squared. Okay, so then next I have a square on the bottom. Squares are so nice to deal with. Okay, so each side is 8, so my perimeter just equals 8 times the 4 sides, which gives me 32. The area of the base just equals 8 times 8, which is 64. And then my lateral height is the 12.6. So I plug it in. 1/2 of the perimeter, which is 32, times that lateral height, which is 12.6, plus the area of the base, which is 64. I type it in my calculator. It comes out to 265.6. So that's what that one comes out as. Okay, moving down to problem 3. So I trace out the base, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a pentagon. And I see all of my sides were marked equally. So my perimeter just equals the 10, which is one side, times the 5 sides, to equal 50. My area of the base equals 1/2 apothem. So this is my apothem, because it shows me it's going from the center to the edge. So 6.9 times the perimeter, which I just found, which is 50. And so I find that 6.9 times 50 divided by 2, that equals 172.5. And then my lateral height equals the 10.6. It's pointing here to this diagonal line, which is that lateral height. So I plug it into my surface area formula. 1/2 perimeter, which is 50, times the lateral height, which is 10.6, plus the area of the base, which is the 172.5 that I found. I type all that in my calculator. I get 437.5 feet squared. Alright, this next one is a cylinder. So a cylinder has its own formula. So a cylinder is just 2 pi radius times the height plus 2 pi radius squared. And so we're going to write that down. So 2 pi radius times the height, because that's going to give me that all the way around. That gives me circumference, and then times the height gives me the sides. Plus, we have 2 pi radius squared, which is just the area of the bases. So technically it's the same thing, because this is the formula for the perimeter circle, and this is the formula for the area of the base. So it is the same as what we did last class, but a lot of times it's easier just to plug it in this way. And so here, our radius is half of this. So this here they give me 12. Sometimes they give you radius, but I need my radius just to be here to the edge, and so that's going to equal 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Alright, so now I just plug it in, so 2 pi 6 times my height, which is the 6 there, plus 2 pi 6 squared. On these calculators, you can type in that entire thing just the way I wrote it. So 2 pi is the button down here. I select enter. So 2 pi 6 times 6 plus 2 pi 6 squared. I enter it and get 452.389. And the directions of the page said to round to the nearest hundredth. So that means I'm going to round it to 452.39 because this one makes it round up. And this is kilometers squared. Alright, so when you have that, flip on over to the next page. Now I have cone. So cone is, again, its own formula, and it's quite easy. So it's pi radius times the lateral height plus pi radius squared. So pi radius times the lateral plus pi radius squared. Here they gave me the radius. They gave me the lateral. This is my radius, so I just plug it in. So pi times 8 times 17.9 plus pi 8 squared. I plug that in, it becomes 650.94 kilometers squared. Alright, sphere is also easy. It's another formula, and you will have all these formulas on any test or quiz you do. You just have to make sure you know how to plug in the formulas. So sphere is just 4 pi radius squared. So 4 pi radius squared. So all I need is that radius, which they gave me. It goes from the center to the edge. And so 4 pi 11 squared. When you type that into your calculator, it gives you 1520.53, and we're dealing with kilometers. Alright, now we're on to volume. So volume is nice and simple. If it's a pyramid or cone, it's just the 1/3 area of the base times the height. So just like we talked about on the front. So 1/3 base times height. And just make sure you know height is in the center. It's the vertical height from the base. So I need my right angle here. And they've given that to me in all of these. So I'm just going to find the area of the base. This one's a square. So it's just 10 times 10. To equal 100. And my height is the 12. So I just do 1/3 times 100 times 12 to get 400. Alright, this next one has a few more numbers, so I have to look carefully. So my base is a triangle. And they gave me all three sides of the triangle, the 3, the 5, and the 4. And so I have to find the two sides that are joined by the right angle. And so 3 and 4 are my base and height of the triangle. And so I just do 1/2 times 3 times 4, and I picked those two sides because they are joined by this. So that gives me 6. Alright, and then I look at my vertical height, so from the base with this right angle all the way up to the tip top is 4. So the height equals 4. And so then it's just 1/3 times the area of the base times the height, which is 4, which equals 8. Nice small numbers. You can mental math them if you're good at that. Alright, so next cone, it's still just 1/3 base times height. And so the area of the base here equals pi radius squared. So this is my radius, and this is my height. So nice simple numbers here, so it's just pi 11 squared. And so I'm going to plug that into my calculator and get 380.133. And so I just do that times 1/3 times 22. And so in my calculator to save time, I'm going to do it times 22, copies the answer for me, and then divide by 3, which is the same as 1/3. And it comes out to 278.64 kilometers cubed. Alright, and last of all, we have a sphere. And so the area of a sphere is quite simple. It's just 4/3 pi radius cubed. And so the first time we have it cubed. And so here my radius just equals 8.6. Only number they gave me. Can't get mixed up, but do watch for whether they gave you radius or the whole diameter. And so I plug into my calculator 4/3 pi 8.6 cubed. So we're going to review how to do that in case you forgot how to do cubed. So 4/3, I do my control divide to get my box. 4/3, put in my pi button. Then I put in my radius. And to get cubed, I push this little up arrow right here, and then type in a 3 for cubed. If you've forgotten how to do that, you can ask your teacher. Or we could type in the 4/3 times pi, and then if you remember, cube just means 8.6 by itself 3 times. So that's another option, is you can just do times 8.6 3 times instead of the cubed, and it gives you that exact same answer. So our answer to this one is 2664.31 inches cubed. Alright, and that is it for our notes today, so move on to your practice assignment for today.